Well, who could have seen this coming? Pretty much everyone who's been paying attention. The president launching 3 strikes against Iranian nuclear facilities. Details piling in now that most of them were empty, perhaps. Anyway, it didn't stop the president from taking to the airwaves to say it was a spectacular success. Watch this.
Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success.
So we've been digesting all of this. Benjamin Netanyahu coming out praising this strike, this attack. Neocons and warhawks all over media over the past number of hours saying this is absolutely spectacular, that in many ways President Trump is like Ronald Reagan. This is a Thatcher-Reagan moment.
And what Donald Trump just did is not only historic, but they have just protected the entire earth. Donald Trump just prevented World War III by using the United States military to stop it.
What does Russia do in all of this? Who President Putin issued a warning. Don't even think about regime change. Sending nuclear scientists as well as Russian officials to these different nuclear sites. Were they killed in any of these attacks? To analyze all of this, we want to bring in former UN Weapons Inspector Scott Ritter, who knows more about this than just about anybody. Scott, good to see you. Now that you've had a number of hours to digest this craziness, where do we stand with where do we stand with, first of all, the assessment of these attacks? What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, all I could think of in as the information came in. Do you remember that old Wendy's commercial from the 1980s maybe, or 1990s? The old lady, where's the beef? Where's the beef?
Old ladies. Yeah.
And that's all I could. I'm going, wait a minute, Mr. President. You took the most sophisticated strike package available to the United States military, and you flew American troops into harm's way to bomb 2 facilities that were already bombed twice by the Israelis, and anything of value that could be salvaged would have been removed. And to bomb another facility that the Iranians have been led to believe you were going to bomb for 9 days now. So therefore, there was nothing in there. Why did you bomb 3 empty facilities, Mr. President? Why? And that's the question, everybody. This is a grand act of theater. This is the theater of the absurd. Let's take a look at the Iranian program. You remember Tulsi Gabbard recently got in some hot water with the internet, social media, because, she had testified before Congress back in March that the Iranian government continued not to be pursuing a nuclear weapons program, and no decision had been made to cross that threshold. She also said that we're very concerned, we being the United States, very concerned about the accumulation of capabilities and rhetoric inside Iran that suggested the fatwa could be reversed, prohibiting nuclear weapons. People tend to forget that aspect of her speech when they condemned her, when she came out and said the president's contention that Iran, could have a nuclear weapon is a valid contention. It is. I wrote an article back in October of last year that said the exact same thing. This has been known, but what we do know is the Iranians have been bending over backwards to eliminate that concern. On the eve of Israel's Pearl Harbor type strike, the Iranians were saying, we're ready to sign a treaty rather than have you rely upon a fatwa, an internal religious political statement. We're willing to sign a binding international treaty that we will not be pursuing nuclear weapons. We're willing to enter a binding agreement that limits our enrichment to 3.75%, on and on and on. But the things that Tulsi was concerned about, and the president claimed to be concerned about, the 60% enriched uranium, we didn't blow that up. That's been secured and removed to different sites that we don't know where it's at. You know that uranium conversion plant that we blew up in Esfahan? That had been evacuated of all of its critical infrastructure prior to the destruction, too. Fordow, home to the IR-6 and IR-8 advanced centrifuges for enrichment capacity, that was evacuated. Iran's been producing advanced centrifuges, IR-6, IR-8, without the international community knowing how many they've produced for some months now, which means all around Iran, there are underground facilities we don't know anything about that have these centrifuges in there. So for the president to come out and say, I have destroyed Iran's capabilities is the biggest lie in the world. He bombed 3 empty facilities. And what the Iranians are saying about Fordow is true. We just dented it. We didn't break it. We didn't penetrate it. We didn't destroy it massively. It's still there intact. We damaged the entrance and we damaged one of the exits. There's 5 exits, by the way, so it's not as though the facility's shut down. This is theater. And then you have to ask your question, why did the president undertake such a dramatic action? According to CNN, the United States has communicated to Iran that this is a limited action and there will be no additional strikes. Now, the president said that if Iran doesn't surrender and all that, there will be more strikes and they'll be greater and they'll be easier and all that kind of stuff. But the bottom line is this strike appears to have been designed so the United States could save face. It's a big nothing burger. Where's the beef?
So save face for who? Because if Iran knows that this was a big nothing burger, who are we saving face from? The Israelis? I mean, so Iran's sitting there, they know the truth.
Trump. This is about saving. First of all, when we speak of Donald Trump, we can only think about one thing, Donald Trump. He doesn't care about America. He doesn't care about American security. He doesn't care about Israel. He doesn't care about any of that. He only cares about Donald Trump. This is a man who has been running around. I mean, first of all, he got himself in hot water by using the royal we when he talked about Israel's attack against Iran, thereby directly implicating himself and this country. He then made some outlandish statements about unconditional surrender, the potential of regime change, which immediately, drew the rebuke of Russia. Don't even think about regime change. And the Iranians saying, bring it on. We're not worried about you. And so basically Iran was ignoring him. He was demanding that Iran roll over and pee on itself and agree to 0% enrichment and all this. And Iran just said pound sand, and they kept hitting Israel. And so Trump needed a way out of this. This was a humiliation for Donald Trump. So this strike is Donald Trump's defining moment, his moment of glory, his greatest military victory in the history of military victories, according to him. But it was a nothing burger. Where's the beef? Didn't destroy anything.
It's a great point. Now, what about the rest of where do things stand, do you believe, with their nuclear enrichment? I mean, it seems like from Tulsi Gabbard's comments, the IAEA, even Russia's own Vladimir Putin yesterday or 2 days ago, sending a message saying, I've told Israel repeatedly that Iran has no nuclear weapons and they have no intentions of creating nuclear weapons. So I guess I'm just so confused. I don't understand. What are we bombing then? What are we trying to bomb? If there are no nuclear weapons and they don't intend to do that, what are we doing? And what's left?
Well, the Israeli exercise was always an exercise in regime change, using the nuclear program as an excuse. The United States, less so. We were there. I mean, the plan that Trump bought in on and he signed off on that Israel executed was a regime change plan. Decapitation of critical leadership, shock and awe, and demoralizing by striking nuclear targets and compelling the Iranians to confront the fact that they had lost, that their gamble had. Netanyahu spoke about this often. He said, I will use the Nasrallah against Iran. They tried to kill Ali Khamenei. They failed, but they killed a lot of other people. The Nasrallah model is leadership decapitation followed by sustained targeting of follow-on leadership to the point where the people lose confidence in the leadership and the system collapses. That's what he wanted to have happen. Trump bought into it, and it failed. Within 24 hours, Israel's getting the snot pounded out of it by Iranian missiles, and they haven't stopped getting the snot pounded out of them ever since. Right now, there's a real concern that Israel is indefensible in a couple of days. They run out of interceptor missiles, and if Iran doesn't run out of missiles, then Iran achieves a strategic victory. So why did they do this? Trump wants to back out of this, I believe. I think he needed to get disengaged from this. So he did this action, and this now gives him the ability to say, all right, the nuclear program is destroyed, even though it's not. I'll touch that in a minute. And therefore, it's incumbent upon Israel and Iran to resolve their issues. But I don't have a say in this anymore because my concern was this nuclear program, which my magnificent bombers, dropping the biggest bombs in the world with the most destructive potential, have completely demolished. And Iran came out and said, you didn't do anything. You didn't do anything, which means that the impetus on Iran, the pressure on Iran to retaliate has been, it's not there. Not a single regional base was used in support of this attack. Not a single American military resource in the Middle East was used in support of this attack. Everything that was used to support this attack were assets controlled by Strategic Command or Pacific Command. Central Command had no role in this attack whatsoever, which means there's deniability, which means it's difficult for the Iranians to speak of retaliation. If the Iranians retaliated, then they're the ones escalating and creating, the problems. This is a chance for Iran to walk away from the concept of having to retaliate against the United States.
Where do you see the escalation ladder going from here? So if Iran sits back, does not touch American bases, but continues to bomb the hell out of Israel, if you watch Fox News, if you watch any of the legacy media, they're telling us that most of their ballistic missiles are now destroyed. Their ability to attack Israel is vastly incapacitated. Israel is just days away from virtually ending this thing, and that Iran is basically, inept at this point, and cannot hit Israel. So what's your assessment? Is that a total lie?
I don't know. What have you seen, Clayton? I mean, because I've seen sensitive intelligence facilities struck with great precision. I've seen Iran move away from firing mass attacks using 20-year-old missiles, in order to exhaust Israeli missile defense capabilities, to shifting to more focused attacks using modern missiles that penetrate the missile defense shield at will and strike the most sensitive targets in Israel. They did it today. They're going to do it tomorrow. They're going to do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They're going to continue to do it because Iran has a tremendous amount of missiles and missile launchers. Iran has been preparing for this very conflict for 20 years. For 20 years, they've been preparing for this. And it appears that their strategy is working. Fox News can spin it any way they want to. The Israelis can spin it any way they want to. But it's very difficult to accept the spin when they say, "Oh, the Iranians have run out of missiles." Boom! Oh, well, there went the Unit 8200 computer processing center in Beersheba. Gosh, I guess they didn't run out of that missile. The bottom line is the Iranians have thousands of missiles left. They have hundreds of launchers. They have dispersed this capability all around the country. There is no single place that can be hit to bring this to an end, and it will never end for Israel.
I guess, where do you think things over the next 48 hours, Scott, where, as we head into Monday and Tuesday of this week, what do you think we're going to see?
I think we're going to see Donald Trump continuing to talk about the decisive action that he took and how important it is. I think we'll see Iran continuing to say how much of a nothing burger this was, and that there's no need for anything other than continuing the strike. Israel will continue to receive, incoming missiles, and Russia and China will do their best to condemn the United States in the international arena. And I see that playing out for, at least a week. And then the United States is going to have to make a decision. Do they put pressure on Israel to bring this thing to an end, or do they seek to escalate? My only concern with Iranian non-action is that the United States will believe that Iran, therefore, is bluffing when it comes to retaliating against an American attack. So the Iranians might have to do something in terms of a demonstration retaliation. But this is what's so dangerous about this, because once you begin tit for tat retaliations, it could spin out of control, especially when you have a narcissist at the helm of the United States military, which is what Donald Trump is, and he's advised by sheer idiots. So we'll see how this plays out. But had the United States bombed meaningful targets, had they done meaningful damage, we'd probably be seeing American bases burning right now in the region. And then we'd be looking at some very difficult times. I mean, we may not even be able to have internet connectivity in the aftermath of something like that, given the fact that, we'll have a global energy crisis that'll hit us here at home as well. So the fact that we have this internet connectivity, that we both have functioning power, and that we can go to the gas station tomorrow and get gas, and that diesel will be available for trucks to deliver the goods to the stores that we rely upon for our life, is a good thing. And that's because Donald Trump bombed 3 empty facilities and did no meaningful damage, and provided the Iranians the opportunity just to walk away.
Well said. Scott, as always, great to see you. Thank you for your analysis on this.
Thanks for having me.
So that's the news update part of today's video. Now I want to tell you about today's sponsor, which is tied directly in everything we just talked about, and an acutely important topic right now, and that is how the United States of America is currently making sure that its national security isn't compromised when it comes to the very basics of our economy. So there are many moving parts that I'm tracking closely, especially from trade, US dollar collapse, and my focus, though, is on materials, the bedrock right now of our economy, and I want to share with you some critical data in my view. The United States is going to find it hard to compete in the era of America First, where Trump's top priority isn't to help other countries, but to rebuild America's industries after this shameful globalist period, if we don't secure mining of this strategic metal. That's why President Trump has signed executive orders, historic executive orders, to protect copper production and mining on U.S. soil. Copper is often called the new oil. It's at the heart of America's future, and I couldn't be more bullish about it, especially when it's coupled with gold. So copper demand right now is surging, while supply struggling to keep pace. On a scale of 1 to 10, I am a full 10 on domestic U.S. copper production. You know that. I've been talking about it for years here on the show. So that's where this basic and common sense supply and demand comes into my bullish thesis. Global mine production is expected to peak in 2026. Underinvestment in new mines has created a massive supply crunch. The United States and China trade war has disrupted global copper supply chains in a big way. So we're in desperate need right now of copper mining on U.S. soil.
American industries depend on copper, and they should be made in America. No exemptions, no exceptions. America First creates American jobs and protects our national security. It's time for copper to come home.
So Giant Mining is the sponsor of today's video. Here is their ticker on your screen. Check this out. Not only does it own a copper, silver, gold project in Nevada, but it also just recorded the best ever drill intercepts in September of 2024, and additional great results just in the past few weeks. That's why I wanted to share this with you today. This company is the only copper company that I'm bullish on right now. It's currently trading for just 16 cents a share. That's the same price as of January 2nd, before Trump came into office and revived the American copper industry. On February 14th, Executive Order 14213 was issued and implicitly prioritizes copper as a critical resource. And Nevada, where Giant Mining's copper project is situated, has constantly ranked among the top mining jurisdictions in the world, which is why I'm bringing this company to your attention today. Now, the share price is down 54% since early February due to market turmoil. So I'm highlighting the company to you today for a reason. Giant Mining owns the Mujaba Hill Copper Project, which is a past-producing mine. In the past 4 years, management and the company's geologists have actually expanded the copper deposit, and this past September, Giant Mining hit their best ever drill hole. So the 2025 results are right now on your screen. Take a look at this, and look at these latest mineralizations of copper that they found. Now take a look at your screen right now. I'm going to actually leave this up here for a few seconds so you can look at it. These are the highlights of the 2025 drill program. And David Greenway, the CEO of Giant Mining, commented on these that Nevada continues to prove itself as a world-class mining jurisdiction, ideally positioned to support the America First policy and bolster domestic resource security. With global copper demand soaring, Mojave Hill offers a compelling homegrown solution to help meet America's significant and growing consumption of copper, end quote. But I've saved the best for last because the drill hole, MHB-34, had David Greenway, the company's CEO, saying the following: "In my entire career, I've never seen drill core like this. It's truly extraordinary. When we began drilling the MHB-34, we had high expectations, but what we encountered exceeded them all. In my entire career, I've never seen drill core like this. The presence of visible native copper beyond 1,850 feet is a powerful indicator of the scale and the strength of the mineralized system at Mojave Hill. This hole reinforces our belief that Mojave Hill is evolving into a world-class copper, silver, and gold discovery," end quote. Those are his words. I will say this again, all of these factors and the following ones are the ones that led me to my bullish opinion about giant mining. The infrastructure is ready, access roads, power supply, transportation, they have a water supply, they have ore stockpiles, and they have the processing space right there. They have a processing plant. So guys, do your own homework on giant mining. Here is their ticker on your screen once again, and we'll see you next time.